In today's video, we will read some scary diary entries from a forgotten diary. These are real diary entries written by a girl who lived 100 years ago. And at the end, I will share with you the darkest secret that she kept hidden in her diary. The old diary was found in the attic, covered in dust, and its leather cover was almost entirely worn away. It had been sitting there for over 80 years, waiting to be discovered. As Primera opened it, a musty smell wafted out, instantly transporting me back in time. The first few pages were stuck together, their edges brittled and yellowed. Then the handwriting appeared, faded but legible. It was clear that whoever wrote these words had done so with a deep and expressive hand, even if the ink had faded with time. The raw emotion of each stroke still visible. As I delved deeper into the diary, I found the first entry dated 1923. The writer was just 14 years old when she began filling its pages. Her name was Elizabeth, and she was obviously a dreamer, an artist, a writer, someone who loved beauty and adventure. She wrote about her hopes and ambitions, her fear of the dark, and her fascination with the stars. There was a rawness to her words, a vulnerability that made me feel like I was intruding on something sacred. But as I continued reading, I couldn't help but get lost in her world. I learned about her struggles with her parents, their traditional expectations, and her own desires for a life beyond those confines. I read about her friendships, her crushes, and the dreams that she had for the future. It was a roller coaster of emotions, laughter, joy, sadness, anger, all brought to life by the expressive script of a bygone era. But there was more to Elizabeth's story than just the faded ink on the pages. As I turned through the brittle leaves, I sensed her personality shining through the words. I felt her joy, her sorrow, her hopes and dreams. It was like she was confiding her deepest secrets to me, her spirit reaching across the decades to touch my heart. One particular entry stood out, describing a secret rendezvous with a young man named William. They met in secluded spots, whispering sweet nothings under the cover of darkness. Their love blossomed amid stolen glances and secret smiles, a hidden world away from prying eyes. But there was a catch. William wasn't just any young man. He belonged to a different social standing, a fact that added a layer of forbidden romance to their love story. As I read on, I realized that their love was frowned upon by society. In that time period, such a relationship was considered taboo, a scandal waiting to happen. Elizabeth poured her heart out onto the pages, torn between her love for William and the fear of what others might say. Her words painted a vivid picture of a love that knew no bounds, yet was held back by the chains of societal norms. The diary also provided glimpses into the historical context of that era. Elizabeth's entries described the fashion, the music, the art, and the culture of her time. I learned about the political unrest, the economic struggles, and the social changes that shaped her generation. Through her eyes, I witnessed the world of the early 20th century, a time of great upheaval and transformation. Yet, amidst the beauty of her prose and the intensity of her emotions, there were darker entries. Some spoke of betrayal, of secrets revealed, of trust broken. I read about lost innocence, the pain of unrequited love, and the agony of separation. There were even a few entries that hinted at tragedy, leaving me to wonder about the fate of Elizabeth and those around her. But perhaps the most haunting part of the diary was that not all the stories had endings. Some chapters were left open, some questions unanswered. I was left with a sense of unease, wondering what had become of Elizabeth and the world she inhabited. And now I will tell you the darkest secret that she kept hidden in her diary. Despite the love she shared with William, Elizabeth was engaged to marry a man she didn't know. Her parents had arranged the marriage for her, and she felt trapped and helpless. On her wedding night, as she prepared to consummate the marriage, she resisted. This act of defiance led to a confrontation with her husband, during which he assaulted her. Traumatized and filled with despair, Elizabeth fled, ending up in the library, where she wrote these diary entries. She never returned home and ultimately died alone in the library, leaving behind a legacy of love, loss, and resilience. There's something about old diaries that just make them so intriguing. What secrets do they hold? What truths have been buried in their yellowed pages? The book is opened to a random page, its fragile fabric threatening to rip with every careless turn. The first entry that catches our eye is dated August 12, 1853. The elegant script speaks of a young woman's life, detailing a day that began like any other. She awoke in her family's grand estate, tended to her roses, and strolled through the gardens, finding solace in the blooms. The entry ends abruptly. The reason for the sudden stop unclear. It's as if the writer's thoughts had been cut short. The page is torn, its edges ragged, and several leaves are missing from the book. The diary becomes a mystery, its narrative fractured and incomplete. We can only imagine what secrets those missing pages held. What confessions, secrets, or dreams did they contain? Why was the entry torn? Was it an attempt to erase the past or hide it from prying eyes? The diary's delicate fabric, already weakened by time, gives way under our inquisitive fingers. The missing pages, lost to the relentless march of time, or perhaps deliberately removed, leave us with unanswered questions. This story is fragmented, the ink on the remaining pages blurring into an unintelligible mess. We strain to decipher the fading script, but some entries are too damaged to make out. Each ripped page, each faded word is a piece of someone's life, a life lived, loved, and lost, now reduced to fragments. But amidst the chaos, a name emerges, a beacon in the sea of obscurity. The diary belonged to Elizabeth, or Eliza, as she was fondly called. Who was Eliza? What was her story? The answers lie hidden in the diarist's heart, buried beneath the torn pages and indecipherable. As we continue our journey through the diary, we discover an entry, dated September 1853. The script, though faded, is still legible, telling the tale of a walk in the park. The details are mundane, the words carefully chosen, painting a picture of a proper young lady's life. Yet there's an underlying melancholy to the prose, a hint of sadness that lingers beneath the surface. The carefree days of youth are numbered. The carefree days of youth are numbered. Eliza knew this as she walked among the blooms, each blossom a silent testament to the fleeting nature of time. Her words danced across the page, weaving a tapestry of emotions. The carefree laughter, the gentle strumming of a nearby guitar, all served to highlight the transient nature of happiness. Even the vibrant colors of the flowers couldn't compete with the brilliance of Elisa's spirit, a spirit that shone brightly despite the shadows that danced in her heart. The entry concludes with a startling abruptness, as if Eliza was interrupted mid-thought, her final words hanging in the air like a half-spoken secret. The unfinished sentence, a reminder of the incomplete nature of life, a life that had been filled with music and laughter, but now threatened by an encroaching darkness. The last entry in the diary is dated September 1853. Eliza's elegant script fills the page, detailing a visit to the theater. The play, a comedy, had left her in stitches, its humor echoing in her heart long after the final curtain. The entry, however, takes a somber turn as Eliza muses about the transience of joy. She likens laughter to the flickering flame of a candle, fragile and susceptible to the winds of change. The carefree days of youth, she muses, are numbered, fading like the last rays of sunlight. But the final sentence, the last words penned by Eliza's hand, sends a chill down our spine. A darkness stirs within the melody, a discordant note that speaks of an ending. Then the words dissolve into a meaningless scribble, as if Eliza's hand, guided by an unseen force, had suddenly gone astray. The last entry in the diary is unsigned, its neat script replaced by a hurried scrawl. The words tumble over each other, creating a sense of urgency. A storm is brewing. the ink on the page mirroring the turmoil within. The familiar name Eliza is now a mere shadow of itself, distorted and unrecognizable. The final word, help, is a plea, a desperate cry for assistance. But from whom or from what? The diary offers no answers. It closes its brittle pages, leaving us suspended in a moment of infinite suspense. We are left with a portrait of a woman, not merely through her words, but also in the spaces between them, in the silences that speak volumes. Eliza's story doesn't end with the last entry. It lives on in the questions that echo in our minds, in the shadows that dance in the corners of our eyes. Her legacy isn't just a forgotten diary. It's a reminder of the ephemeral nature of existence, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit and the timeless piece of history waiting to be unearthed.